Hey folks, Jessica here. So we're in Genshin Impact again, and I just cleared Abyss Floor 12-3 for the very first time. So I'm doing another playthrough video. Now, I actually got to 12-3 quite some time ago. It's just, well, the enemies on 12-3 are level 100 Fatui. So I tried it a few times, and then I went, I'll be back. So here we are, we're back. You can imagine how painful that fight is, because Fatui are already pain in the ass, and when they're 20 levels higher than your characters, they're quite a pain. So we'll get to that when we get to the final chamber. Another thing to note is if you've been watching my my pull videos for Klee, you know that I got Klee to Constellation 6, and I'm running her here as Constellation 6. So this is half clear video, half Constellation 6 Klee showcase. Now, if you're curious what I'm running, I will cover all that at the end, like I usually do, timestamp at the bottom. And my gears changed quite a bit, actually, because it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, so we can talk about that on the other side. But let's just get into it. So these clears are going to be a little bit slower also, because there's not a lot of time pressure on floor 12, since there's no floors beyond this. This is literally the bottom of the abyss. So you don't need a high star score in order to continue forward. So I'll take my time on a lot of these floors. The card I'm going to take here is the normal and charge attack damage plus 20%. Out of all these, it's the best one for clearing, and also it carries over the rest of the floors, so kind of a no-brainer. So let's just jump into it. Team 1's going to be Diluc, Xiangling, Chi-Chi, and Fischl. Pretty strong team comp. I've been looking to tell a lot of potential team comps, and it's interesting because there's a lot of spreadsheets and Google Docs from big brains talking about like maximum potential DPS of different team comps, and yeah, like the Diluc Fischl Xiangling team actually is one of the highest comps. It will be higher still if Venti's here, but Venti's on my second team, so that's why he's not here. Diluc is such a freaking beast. He just hit that, like that wasn't like juiced by anything. He just legitimately crit that thing with his Searing Onslaught for 32k. There's no Mona juicing him. That's just how hard he hits at this point. Like just throwing those like 23k, 36k hits like it's no big deal. So Diluc's a real beast. Klee will not be outdone. Klee's also a huge beast. We'll get to her part in a second. It's interesting because looking at the ideal team comps, certain characters are already auto-includes. Venti is one of them. There's almost never a time when you don't want an Animo support. I don't have an Animo support here because Venti and Jean are on the other team. But yeah, outside of like cases like that, you always want Animo support because honestly, the Viridescent Venerer set is just so strong. It's the 4-piece on that basically reduces resistance for all the other elements besides Anmo and Geo when you squirrel elements into them. And that's always a huge damage gain. Like on every single team comp, you pretty much want a Venti. And that's not surprising, that always happens. Venti's basically like the Celestial Hymn of Genshin. If you're familiar with Honkai 3rd Impact, Celestial Hymn is extremely common meta character, has been for 2 years, just because she is almost always a damage gain for most team comps. So Venti is very similar. By the way, since these are longer clears, it's going to be partly chats with Jessica. Nice 48k crit there, Diluc. Calm down. But yeah, this will be partly chats with Jessica just because it's so long. Another character that's almost always an auto-include is actually Fischl. Looking at the spreadsheets and potential damage, like maximum damage for teams, it's almost always a damage loss for the team if you don't have Fischl. Fischl's just that good. Fischl just does so much damage no matter the team comp. As a support. That's the thing, right? Fischl, like, I was running her as main DPS before, but that's just because I have a Refinement 3 Amos bow. But she is universally useful because as a support, she can really fit on any team and dramatically increase your damage. These water flowers, by the way, still incredibly freaking annoying. These guys are level 95, by the way. Everyone on my team here except for Xiangling, sorry. Finally learned how to pronounce her name. Yeah, is level 80. Xiangling is 70. I'm not actually running Kei Ching. on either team. On this one, there just wasn't room. I wanted double Pyro for the attack bonus, so Xiangling here is instead of Klee. And then if you look at the other team, again, just no room. Like, I'm running double Anmo with Jean and Venti, because of course. And then it's Klee and Mona. I guess I could switch out Mona for Klee, but Mona is kind of a support, so that makes more sense than running 2 DPS, because Klee not really a support character at all, so that's why she's not here. Outside of, like, Abyss, though, I'd probably run... I don't know. It's tricky, because you do kind of almost want this setup where it's, like, main DPS, support, healer. It is, like, typically what you want to run. It's rare that you want to run 2 DPS. Main DPS, anyways. So here's Klee, Constellation 6 Klee. We're ready to rock and roll. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering why my voiceover is Japanese all of a sudden, I can't stand Klee's voice. Her English voice drives me absolutely fucking insane. So I actually switched to Japanese because she's way less annoying in Japanese. Sorry, Klee fans, but it's the truth. So Venti is also C6. This is a double 5-star C6 team, the luxury team. Klee throwing out her ult. Just explosions freaking everywhere. Switching out to Jean, she her C4 causes her to do a 550% nuke, attack nuke. When Klee switches out if her ult's active, so that hit for like 34k there, AoE. It's not necessarily always the right choice to switch her early. Ideally, you want to like keep her out for the duration of her her ult and then switch at the last second, but that timing is a little bit tricky to do all the time. But yeah, Klee doing some real work here. She also completely chews through these guys' Abyss shields because all their attacks are pyro, obviously, since she's a caster. Character I want to level up and play with more is Mona. Like, Mona seems good. It's just I haven't put as much time into like leveling her up and gearing her up and just seeing what playstyle best suits her. But right now I'm using her for damage enhancement and for her decoy. And Venti just doing Venti things. We're gonna throw that ult in there, and there's gonna be a big crit when I switch out. That's 61k crit there when I swapped Klee out from her Constellation 4. Yeah, it's C4 for a reason. She's basically just exploding C4 right in their face. Okay, next part. Okay, Chamber 2. We're going to take the 20% attack up for characters, because it carries over the whole floor, but it's also a really good one. That Elemental Burst healing 30% will be pretty good also, but it's just for this chamber, and again, we need to stack everything for Chamber 3. So this is a defend. I'm going to take it pretty slow, so we got plenty of time to chat, because defends don't have a time limit. I just need to keep that thing from freaking dying. So this is interesting, because my team comp here is actually not ideal. What I would want to do is take the Venti team here, because Venti can shoot his ult across and pick up all these little hilichurls and then make clearing them way faster and cleaner. However, for Chamber 3, I prefer Venti to be on Team 2. So that's why I'm not running Venti here. Now, if I needed to get a high star rating on all the chambers, then I would probably just deal with it and have Venti here, because Venti considerably speeds up and cleans up this chamber's clear specifically. Because the second half doesn't have as many little guys. For now, though, I'm getting by using Deluxe Phoenix to basically push all of them into a corner to group them up. Controlling where these guys stand is going to be a big deal. And by the way, when the Whopper Flowers do that charging thing, if you don't break it, they start machine gunning you, and it is a real pain in the ass. It does a lot of damage and freaking stun locks you, and it's just really annoying. So always try and interrupt them. Luckily, it only takes like a couple hits from Deluxe Searing Onslaught to stop a Whopper Flower in that situation. And Whopper Flowers are super tanky, so we're just clearing out the hilichurls first. As usual, this is stuff you've seen in the previous clears. No Whopper Flower. No, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Okay, there. We interrupted it. It really wanted to do it. What a freaking jerk. I need to level Chi-Chi's weapon. I think she's using a level 40 weapon, but she's still mostly here just for healing. I finally did talent her up, and she does so much healing. Chi-Chi versus Jean is interesting. Chi-Chi is, I think, a better overall healer. She's just got a better, more focused healing kit. But one thing that's awkward about Chi-Chi is she doesn't have a burst heal. Basically, you heal by putting a mark on somebody, and then people that hit that mark heal, or you have Chi-Chi out, and Chi-Chi heals everybody by hitting something. But she doesn't. Unlike Jean, there's not like a single like giant burst of healing. So in that way, Chi-Chi's a little bit awkward, but like the trade-off's worth it. Like Chi-Chi does so much more healing overall than Jean does, and her elemental skill is way more useful than Jean. The little ice ball that floats around, because it's a support skill. It sticks around. You throw it up, and then you switch Chi-Chi out, and it's still going. Interrupt this stupid flower. These things remain tanky, even though I'm hitting for tons of damage. These things, now and forever, will always be tanky. I don't know why Whopper flowers are so tanky. But it's worth, by the way, paying attention to trying to keep both of them in line of sight, because you wanna interrupt them from when they try to charge. Because if they do get all the way charged up, it ends up being very annoying and painful. So we've got 2 enemies left. I just gotta kill one of these Whopper flowers, and then I will just try and get everyone topped off and ready for the next floor. I haven't been dropping officials E, just mostly because I'm forgetting, but there's no time pressure here, so like it's not that urgent. And I'm trying not to use anyone's alts because I want them all charged, so if I use their alts, I'd have to charge them again. So that's why I'm basically just doing Deluck and then popping Chi-Chi in to keep Deluck top, because I want to end this floor full health for everybody, Elemental Burst full on everybody. Because, again, Chamber 3 is a real pain in the freaking ass. These guys are level 98, by the way. They're getting really high. They're 18 levels above Deluck. Other side. So, there's only 8 enemies here. This side has one part that's actually particularly tricky. I'll talk about when we get to it. But yeah, Klee is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with C6 Klee. C6 Deluxe still definitely stronger than C6 Klee. Also easier to use because Klee has a higher skill cap than Deluxe. But like C6, there's nothing wrong with C6 Klee. Like if Deluxe were the best DPS, Klee would be the second best DPS. Doing my proper animation cancels until they ice cage me. It's kind of annoying that Klee's short, like a little girl, because she can't throw her bombs out of the ice cage. They hit the walls of the ice cage. Really annoying. By the way, if you do this floor, be careful of those ice cages. They do so much damage. If you get caught in one, run the edge of it. You either want to stand still or you want to be constantly moving so you can get out of it before it actually lands. But yeah, some things about Klee you might not have known. Klee's Constellation 2, I think, if you're not going Turbo Whale and you do want more than just Constellation 0 Klee, Constellation 2 is probably the major breakpoint. And the reason for that is... nuke these assholes. The reason for that is Constellation 2 makes it so Jumpty Dumpty, her elemental skill, the bomb she throws out, the big bomb she throws out, not her regular normal attack. It makes the big bomb she throws out lower enemies' defense by 23%. And there's actually only 3 characters in the game that can lower enemy defense. I looked this up to make sure. There's only 3. And she's the one who lowers it the most. Everyone else lowers it to a much lower degree than Klee. So the characters are Lisa on one of her Ascensions and Razor on one of his Constellations. I think it's Constellation 4 Razor. Both of them can lower defense by 15%. Klee can lower it by 23% on Constellation 2. So a pretty big deal. And if you didn't know, here, I'll talk about it afterwards. This is the hard part. So these guys, if they drop their ice field on the defend point, it will kill it. It will just kill it. It does so much damage. It does like 70% of things health. So what we gotta do is try and gather them, but they're in bubbles, so it's really hard to gather them. So I throw Mona's decoy on 1 to just get its attention, and then I try and bust through the shield on Klee, and I throw Venti's ult so I can just juggle these guys together and keep them CC'd, because if they cast on that obelisk is freaking dead. Awkward part here is I actually end up killing these guys faster than I want, because I want to top everyone off in health and charge elemental burst, and I accidentally push the floor. It's just, you don't have a lot of options here, because if you don't kill them quickly, there is a legitimate chance that they will kill the obelisk. So that part's tricky. That actually took a while to figure out the proper timing for it. So the defense thing, though. Right, so Klee's won 3 characters that can lower defense. The reason lowering defense is a big deal, and you might think that sounds wrong, Jessica. I'm saying defense, not resistance. They're different. So here's how it works. Defense is basically damage mitigation against everything. Resistance is damage mitigation against a specific type of damage. So like pyro resistance, animo resistance, etc. Defense, there's not many ways to lower it. There's a lot of ways to lower resistance, in particular the Viridescent Venerer set lowers pretty much all the resistances except for Geo and Animo. So that's why lowering defense is a big deal. Some people might be confused because you might think defense is physical resistance. It's not. There is specifically a physical resistance. That's one of the typed resistances. Defense is just general damage mitigation. So if you can lower that, that's great, because obviously lowering more of those things increases your damage. So Klee, like at Constellation 2, gets you basically the maximum defense resistance in the game right now. So that's a good breakpoint if you're trying to find a Constellation to go for on her. Anyways, the final chamber. Okay, chamber number 3. This is the final chamber in the game, so it is effectively the hardest fight in Genshin Impact at the moment, until they add more Abyss Floors or more challenging fights. The card choices I have here, none of them are really great. The one left is character damage within 8 seconds of sprinting is increased by 20%. Can only occur once every 15 seconds. The middle one is charge attack, stamina consumption reduced by half. And the third one is instantly restore HP, 25% HP to all party members. I don't know if that will hit Team 2. If it did hit Team 2, that would be a little bit compelling, because my Team 2, the Klee team, didn't cleanly finish their chamber. They actually were kind of beat up leaving it. But I'm going to go with the damage boost. I can't really easily plan around this thing, so I figure it's just going to be a damage boost that's up as often as it can be, because I'm just sprinting all the time, and I'm not going to play around it. It's just going to be up when it's up, and I'll gain some extra damage from it, and that's basically it. None of these choices are that compelling. So again, these are Fatui, and they are quite tanky and very deadly, so you have to be careful, because remember, they're level 100 and my highest level character is 80. So Cryo guy and Lightning Hammer guy, and we're just gonna brawl with them. We're gonna try and get them down as far as possible. I mean, you've seen me do this for other floors with Fatui. Issue here is I can't actually fully kill them before their shields come up. That's just not possible. So we're just gonna brawl. Lightning Hammer guy just jumps on us with the Lightning Hammer. We take it. It's fine. We're just going to push through, push as much damage as we can. Chi-Chi jumps out to give a mark to heal people, and we're just going to keep on brawling with these things. Get them as low as possible. Luck throws out the Phoenix, and the Luck just does so much damage. So much damage. Does this guy get a shield up? No, that guy in fact doesn't get a shield up for this one, but this guy will. We can't kill, but we don't manage to kill both of them before their shields come up here. It's quite hard to do. One Lightning Hammer guy, though, is not particularly dangerous. And the reason we're using Chi-Chi here is because Chi-Chi is Cryo, and Cryo breaks lightning shields, electro shields, really fast. And it's going to come in handy for moments like this, because he gets his electro shield up, and we didn't have Chi-Chi, it would actually be quite painful to try and break. It would take forever to break that thing. But luckily, Chi-Chi, 4 hits of Herald of Frost, that the little floating ice orb, will break the shield, like we just did. And then these guys come out, the Animo Boxer and the Lightning Hammer guy. It pays to be careful with Animo Boxer. So you'll see, when he puts his shield up, if you hit it with an elemental attack from the front, he'll absorb it, suction you in, and then try and haymaker you. So On previous floors, I didn't worry about that too much, but for these Animo Boxers, they hit so hard that I try and be careful of it. But for this first one, I just body him before he ever gets the shield up. I just focus him, completely ignore the Electro guy. Because the Animo Boxer is much, much more likely to kill somebody randomly than the Electro guy is. Electro guy, if you're having trouble dodging the hammer, when he does the thing where it flows and he charges at you, you want to run towards him. If you try and run away from him, he'll hit you. If you try and run laterally, he'll hit you. But if you try and run towards him, the attack will go right over your head. Usually. Most of the time. Anyways, this floor wasn't too bad. And yeah, onwards to the next floor. I need to be better about picking up Xiangling's little chili peppers. Whenever she throws out the bear, when it goes away, a chili pepper appears and you pick up, you get a damage boost. Okay, so Cryo Guy and Animo Boxer. Gotta be careful here. Throwing out Mona's decoy. And everyone's kinda hurt, remember. Like, we entered this floor hurt. And not everyone's elemental burst is charged. So I'm actually just gonna skirt the edges. Try not to interact much with the Animo Boxer if I can, and get Jean's heal charged up. Now that Jean's heal's charged up, I'm much safer, and I can just go all in. Klee throws all her stuff out. We're just going to drop all the bombs in the world on this freaking Cryo Guy, and his shield breaks like in about 2 seconds because of Klee's, all of Klee's attacks. So the Animo Boxer did his thing where he tries to suction, like, vacuum you in and then haymaker you. So I just switched Mona in to take the hit. She got one shot by it, basically. It's fine, though. Like, it's fine. Her sacrifice will be remembered. It's much better than losing any of the other 3 characters. I don't want to lose Jean because I want to have a healer. Losing a healer makes it super awkward because you just get attrition down. Venti is so much of an enabler in terms of damage and also control with his with Windstrand Ode, and Klee is my primary damage. So losing any of those 3 characters is a big deal. Mona, it's okay. Like, Mona can die here and it's not that big a deal. Throw outs, please. Jumpty Dumpty, low defense, and throw bombs. Now we've got a Geocaster, another Cryo Guy, and Lightning Hammer Guy. I've got plenty of time since I cleared the first chamber so fast, and we're just gonna, yeah, we're gonna throw Venti ult, throw Klee's ult, throw freaking everything, throw all the things. Hit him with all the things. Do as much damage as possible. Geo Guy's about half, Cryo Guy is pretty healthy, more healthy than I would like. But, again, no time pressure, so we're just gonna play it safe, because none of these guys are really particularly good at chasing you. Like, you can get away from them. Lightning Hammer Guy will try and close, but you can just run past him and dodge the hammer blow. Klee gets hit by the hammer there, very dangerous. If she had died there, that would be the run over, because she's going to be necessary to kill these guys. I tried to run towards him, and instead of running past him, I ran right into him. But it's fine. So see, if you run towards him, the attack would just go over your head. Like, I didn't even have to sprint. Okay. Windstrand Ode's up, drop all Klee's stuff in there, all that shit. Switch out 81k. 81k like 81,000 damage from switching Klee out while her ult was active. So yeah, Klee hits pretty freaking hard. Okay, so that Windstrand Ode should take care of Lightning Hammer Guy, and we're pretty safe now. Like, we would have to mess up pretty bad to die at this point. As long as we play somewhat carefully, we'll be fine, and we've got 4 minutes left. We can afford to just take our time with this. The thing with the Cryo Guy is when he does that thing where he just sprays the Cryo Ray out, the Cryo, whatever that thing is, his Cryo weapon out, if you get caught in that, it's going to do a lot of damage. It could easily kill a character if you're not careful. So I'm just going to try and keep my distance from him until I can break his shield, which is pretty easy because Klee is Pyro, and Pyro breaks Cryo pretty fast. So he's down for the count, and then Klee will just finish him off. And now we just got the Geo guy. Now, Geo guy is interesting because, remember, Geo shields are broken by Geo damage, or by Claymores, or by Klee's bombs. Klee's bombs actually do extra damage to Geo shields. Yeah, another fun fact about Klee. Because they're explosions. Explosions do extra damage to mining nodes. Klee also breaks mining nodes very fast. But right now, the more relevant thing is she breaks Geo shields. And then we're good to go. That guy's stuck on the wall a little bit too high, but luckily Klee's charge attack can still hit him. So there we go. That's Abyss 12-3. Hardest fight in the game right now. So I will meet you on the other side of the cut to talk about gear and characters and all that stuff. Be right back. Okay, gear. I will talk about my thoughts on Klee after we talk about gear. So Diluc, we'll start with him. He is running Wolf's Gravestone, Refinement 1. We've talked about this in the past. Let's see, artifacts. He is still running 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames. I'll click through them real fast. Some of these are settling into what I will probably use on them for quite a long time, and some of these have been improved since the last time we've talked, so it's worth clicking through them real fast. This Witch's Flower Blaze, this is only a 4-star. My strategy of 4 stars are if they have good enough stats, which this one does. It has 3 offensive stats. It's missing crit rate. It has defense crit rate. If it did have crit rate, then be a perfect roll, but it's a 4-star. So I'll plus 16 one of these if they're good enough, and then just use it and not worry about replacing it until I get a 5-star. So these are all they're all placeholder for 5-star. But this one's fine. This one's not bad at all. This Feather, on the other hand, is almost perfectly rolled. This is it's plus 16 right now. I'm gonna plus 20 it and then probably use it for a while until I get an absolutely perfect roll. So if you didn't know, if your maiden stat is attack, then you can only roll 1 attack substat. You can't roll you can't have base attack here and then attack percentage and base attack here. So you can't have 3 attack mods on an item. So we have 1 attack mod, that's great. Then we have crit rate, great. Crit damage, great. Those are 3 offensive stats we always want to see. And this 4th one's non-offensive stat. If we wanted 4 offensive stats, this could be Elemental Mastery, and that would be perfect in terms of offensive stats. But honestly, Elemental Mastery, it's not a bad stat, but it doesn't scale well into the end game. I think a lot of people get the wrong idea about Elemental Mastery because it's actually much stronger early game when more of your damage is coming from reactions. It's not bad, but it's definitely the least desirable of the offensive stats. So having energy recharge here is not terrible. I value them fairly close. So this Hourglass is 5-star, and the main thing here is it's got attack, crit rate, elemental mastery, best defense. So this one, I will still probably take it to 20 because it's close. But I will replace this at some point with one that's crit rate and then crit damage also. And then this Goblet's 4-star. It's only got 3 offensive stats, but I mean it's only 4 stars, so I don't super care, so it's plussed up as far as it can be. Is Pyro damage bonus. For Diluc, I would rather have an elemental damage bonus here than attack as its main stat, so this is fine for now. And then which is Scorching Hat, this is crit damage, and this thing's also fine, but it's 4-star. Also remember, I talked about this in a previous video, but all characters have an innate stat. Diluc is crit rate. So he benefits from crit damage items to balance that out. His stats right now are 45.6% crit rate and 125.2% crit damage, and almost 50% pyro damage. So let's look at Klee, our other pyro user. And a thing you're going to notice real quick is Klee and Diluc, I focused on getting their artifacts as good as possible since they do most of the lifting on these fights, as you just saw. So Klee is still using Lost Prayer to Sacred Winds, is still Refinement 1. Artifacts, also 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames. Let's just click through them real fast. This flower is 5-star, but it's not great because it's attack and elemental mastery, and then it's 2 non-offensive stats, HP and defense. So I've only plus 8'd it. I don't think I'll plus 20 it unless I have a huge surplus of fodder, which I've got a lot of things I need to level, so that's not gonna be for a bit. So I might just leave this at plus 8 until I find a better version. We're getting to the point where we're picky about substats. That's a better way of putting it, I guess. Now, this feather, on the other hand, is closer because it's 3 offensive substats, but it's missing crit rate. It's got attack, crit damage, elemental mastery. I will probably take this to 20 because this is still pretty close to what I want, but I will replace this at some point with a crit rate, crit damage, attack, and then elemental mastery or energy regen piece. So yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of where you start becoming picky with substats. But this is still good enough, I think, to take the plus 20 and use. And then she is using a 5-star gladiator piece. This thing's not great. It's got crit damage and attack, but then it's got 2 non-offensive stats, energy recharge and HP. But it is plus 20 right now because I got a while back, and this was back when like getting 5 stars was not as easy as it is now. And it will be even easier once you get to adventure rank. Once I get to adventure rank 45. So back then, this was more exciting, so I plus 20'd it. But these days, the bar is much higher for things I want to plus 20. So again, this is where we start caring about substats. Now, on the other hand, this Witch's Heart of Flames, it's plus 20, and this is almost a perfect roll. It's pyro damage bonus again. It's crit rate, attack, and crit damage. The only thing, obviously, is I'd rather have like probably elemental mastery here instead of energy recharge. But again, those are close enough that that's not that much of a knock against this. This thing's almost perfect. So happily plus 20 this thing. And then crown is 4 stars, so not super important. I'm just using it as a placeholder. It's crit rate and crit damage and attack, and then 2 non-offensive stats. You want to see Klee's stats? They are right now 46.6% pyro damage, 26% crit, 56% crit damage. And now let's talk about everyone else's gear real fast. We're gonna go faster through everyone else's gear because they're just not as plussed up. Jean is still using Skyward Blade. Oh yeah, I should talk about constellations. Deluxe is Constellation 3. Klee is Constellation 6. We'll talk about Klee specifically in a little bit. Jean is Constellation 1. Jean is using Skyward Blade, and she's using 4-piece Maiden Beloved still. And if you look through these, plus 8, plus 4, plus 0, plus 4, plus 0. So you don't get a lot. You run out of fodder really fast. Also, I've been trying to hold off hardcore farming artifact domains because the drop rate would be better when I hit 45, which is literally a couple days away before I hit 45, hopefully. So I just haven't had very much fodder, so I really haven't plussed up Jean's gear. And honestly, in the role I was using her, she was mostly there purely to throw out her elemental burst as a heal as often as possible. That's partly why Skyward Blade actually I think is great for her, because it has energy recharge as a substat. Venti's using Stringless. Pretty much his best bow. Right now, this is the best possible bow for him as a support Venti, which is how you should be running him. So happily running this, Rep 5 and 5, is 73 out of 80. Need to get to 80 actually. He's running 4-piece Veritas Inventorer. Get used to seeing this set. I mentioned in the video, but you pretty much always want an Animo support character that is running 4-piece Veritas Inventorer. If you don't have a Venti, then Animo main character is fine in a support role with 4-piece Veritas Inventorer, but you want 4-piece Veritas Inventorer because of this bonus here. So 2-piece bonus Animo damage, whatever. It's great. It's fine. It's good. Like elemental damage is good. However, this one's big. Increase squirrel damage by 60%. All right, sure. But decreases opponent's elemental resistance to an element infused in the squirrel by 40% for 10 seconds. For any element besides Animo, which it cannot reduce the resistance on because you can't mix Animo into a squirrel reaction, and Geo, because you can't mix Geo really with anything other than a crystallize. For any other element besides those two, this will lower elemental resistance for the enemy by 40%, which will considerably increase your damage. So get used to always having an anima support for any hard content or anytime you want to run an optimal team comp for doing damage. It's just the way the game is set up. Venti is Celestial Hymn from Honkai. If you're not familiar with Celestial Hymn is a Valkyrie they added in 2018, and she's been a meta character ever since because of much the same reason as Venti. She just enables damage for so many different compositions of teams. Venti's Constellation, as we've talked about in a previous video, is 6. We're running Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is running Sacrificial Sword. I need to level up her weapon. It's only 40, but again, I'm using this for the effect of resetting her skill cooldown, more so than anything else, and the energy recharge to a degree. Her artifacts are also plus 4-piece Main Beloved. And the artifacts she's wearing are +4, +8, +12, +8, +8. She's better geared than Jean, but honestly, you're probably safe holding off on upgrading your healer's equipment behind your DPS's equipment, because the it doesn't affect healing that much. So this is fine for now. I'll plus her stuff up later when I get more fodder at 45. So Constellations, she's Constellation 1. And also, speaking of fodder, I do want to get her pieces to 5-star. Like, 4-star stuff is very soon going to be all fodder, so I don't really want to plus up her 4-star pieces. So I wasn't running Kei-Ching, so we'll skip over her to Fischl. Fischl's using Emo Spell Refinement 3. So actually, interestingly, I don't really use Fischl as main DPS anymore because, well, Deluxe and Klee exist. Because I have Deluxe and Klee, rather, I should say. However, this is still a really good bow for whenever she's actually attacking. Practically speaking, though, that's not that often these days, so I probably should replace this with something like a Stringless. I have another Stringless, it's only Refinement 1. I just don't know if I want to like max refine, ascend, and level 2 of the same weapon. I'm not sure. We're using this for now. It gives a hefty attack bonus, and that's fine. Other interesting thing to note is Child is coming out soon, and Child is a DPS archer, so this might actually end up being like a best-in-slot bow for Child. We'll have to see how he plays. But yeah, right now Fischl is playing more of a support role than she used to, so this is not her optimal weapon right now for a support role. Artifacts on her: she's running 2-piece Thundering Fury for the electro damage bonus, and 2-piece Gambler for the skill damage bonus on Oz. +8, +12, +20, +16, +12. Mona, and Fischl, I should say, is Constellation 6. Mona, using an Eye of Perception, that's level 20. Yeah, so I only was using one Catalyst user in the past, which was Mona, so she's using Last Prayers to Sacred Winds. But then I got Klee, so Klee is using that now, and Mona is now just using random artifact that I don't have leveled. This is Refinement 5. I need to level this up because it is pretty good for Mona. Well, for any Catalyst user, this thing's pretty strong. Any Catalyst user that does DPS, I guess I should say. Mona is using Noblesse Oblige, 4-piece. 2 pieces Elemental Burst damage is increased, and then 4 pieces, when you Elemental Burst, everyone in the party gets +20% attack. Her pieces are +8, +20, +4, +20, and then +4. And her constellations are 2. Alright. Shangling, using Dragon's Bane, it's only level 40. I do have a Skyward Spine, which, if I were running her as DPS, would be better than Dragon's Bane, I think, but I'm not running her as DPS, so Dragon's Bane is probably fine for now. I don't know if I'm going to keep on leveling this, though. I might just level Skyward Spine and just give it to her. Like, because, oh man, you gotta make this kind of choices when you talk about materials in this game, because they're, like, it takes so much fodder to level up weapons. So much XP fodder to level up a weapon. She's running 2-piece Crimson Witch of Flames, 2-piece Gladiator Finale. It's a little awkward for her to stack Crimson Witch, because the Crimson Witch buff is 10 seconds, and her elemental skill is a 12-second cooldown, so she can't stack it, so that's why I'm not running 4-piece on her. But 2-piece Gladiator is fine for her. Just make her do more attack or more damage even as a support. Is that everybody? Let's see, Deluxe, Klee, Jean, Venti, Chi-Chi, Fischl, Zhangling, Mona. Okay, so there's everybody. Okay, so thoughts on Klee. Klee is amazing. Like, as you saw in the video, she does a tremendous amount of damage. She'll likely be one of my 2 primary damage dealers for quite some time. I don't have any regrets, really, about taking her Constellation 6. If you want to compare her to Diluc, they're fairly equivalent right now, actually. But my Diluc's only Constellation 3. Once Diluc gets Constellation 6, Diluc will start pulling ahead of Klee pretty significantly. But that doesn't mean she's bad or anything. It's just Diluc is very strong. And that said, Diluc doesn't have a rate-up banner, so getting Diluc to Constellation 6 is going to take a bit more time than getting Klee to Constellation 6. And you do need two Abyss teams, so Diluc will lead one Abyss team, and Klee will lead the other Abyss team. That's just going to be a stepping run for, well, until a better primary DPS comes out. But right now, they're probably the number 1 and number 2 primary DPS characters in the game right now. That said, I don't think Klee is the right character for everybody. I'm bringing this up, actually, because I was looking through, like, Chinese beta test, like, thoughts on characters and, like, tier lists and whatnot. And most people tend to rate Klee pretty high, like S tier at least, and most people really like Klee. However, I was watching MTash's video, and this is not a knock on MTash, but I think it's worth talking about. And he does not like Klee. In fact, the thumbnail on his video was something like "Klee sucks," and again, this is not a knock on MTash, but I think part of the issue is, I think this is MTash's first gacha game, because he dropped like $2,000 or something really high on Klee, and only got her a Constellation 4, and I think that really got under his skin, because some of the stuff he was saying was a little yikes. Like, just, I don't know how else to put it other than, like, bruh, if you build the character wrong and you play the character wrong, of course you're not gonna really like the character. But yeah, not a knock against MTash. I really like I used to watch his Destiny content all the time. It's just his Genshin thoughts they're hot takes. Let's put it that way. That said, though, I legitimately don't think she's a good fit for everybody. And why do I say that? Well, her combo, for one, is clunky. It locks you in place for a long time. It's slow to come out. It's not great. And what you're supposed to do to maximize her is to animation cancel, get the bombs out faster. And when you animation cancel, you can also break out of it and run and dodge things more responsively. That kind of optimization is not going to be something that sits well with everybody. I think a lot of players would rather just play like a melee character and mash, because, like, you know, melee characters, they're always agile. You don't have to animation cancel or anything on them at all, really, to get their optimized damage. Like, just mashing out Deluxe combo is probably pretty close to optimal for his normal attack combo, at least at Constellation 0. So I think that optimization is not gonna sit well with some folks. That said, there's plenty of times in that footage where I didn't animation cancel. There were occasions where there's so much going on that I had to pay attention to, things I needed to dodge, setups I needed to get ready, that I didn't have time to even think about it. So you don't necessarily need to animation cancel to maximize your damage some of the times, but if you want to be optimal in all cases, then you most of the time you do want animation cancel. And I think if you're the kind of person where it bugs you that you're not playing optimally, then Klee's not going to be a great character for you if you don't want to make the extra step of having to actually pay attention to your timing on your attacks to do well. Another slight thing about MTash's video, he was freaking jump canceling Klee's attack, so something like like that, and that's not how you should animation cancel her. The only reason you would jump cancel her attacks, because that's just not as efficient as the walk cancel that I do. The only time you would do that is if you really don't want to move forward even an inch, because you do edge forward ever so slightly if you walk cancel her. So that's a thing to know. And then the other reason I don't think Klee is going to be for everybody is she's really short range for a caster. Her bombs don't go very far. And if you're talking about her charge attack, it's basically melee range. Like, her charge attack is super close range. In fact, let's look at the Luke. The Luke's charge attack goes just as far, if not further. So Klee is basically an almost melee range caster, and that's not gonna mesh with what everybody pictures her playstyle being. And then the third thing I think that makes Klee not right for everybody is a lot of people aren't gonna want to fuck around with mines, because like you have to kind of position the enemy and run them around and cause them a crash in these mines to do optimal damage. You can, by the way, pick them up with Jean's E and throw them. However, I've tried that. It's just not worth the effort a lot of times. But yeah, the fact that she has mines means some people just aren't going to like that. That said, interesting note. Jean's E can pick those up. Venti's alt cannot. And it's one of the few like effects like that don't pick it up, which lead me to believe that it will be fixed at some point, because I don't think that's intentional. I think Venti's ultimate is supposed to pick these up, and if Venti's ultimate his Windstrand Ode does pick up those mines, that's going to be a pretty nice bonus for Klee. It's not going to be a huge change, because honestly the mines don't do that much damage, so it's nice to have, but I don't honestly think it's that big a deal. But yeah, she's not for everybody. And also, some people are gonna try and play her as support, and that's not really how you want to play her. She's meant to be a primary DPS. This is another Tash point that I kind of take umbrage with, because he was comparing. I believe his statement was something like, C6 Venti does so much stuff, and like is such an important pivotal part of the team compared to a C6 Klee. And I'm like, that's not apples to apples. Like, they're not the same role at all. Venti is the best support in the game, and if anyone gets compared to him in a support role, they're going to suffer by comparison. Klee's not intended to be support, and if you're playing her as support, you're probably playing her wrong, to be frank. That said, she does have more capabilities of acting like a kind of pseudo support when you get her Constellation, because again, she can reduce defense, you can swap her out early, she can generate energy for everybody, but that doesn't mean she's a support. It just means that certain actions are going to be a little bit more optimal when you unlock her Constellations. So that's definitely a thing. What else? I think the other thing that's gonna maybe rub some people the wrong way with Klee, but this goes for honestly most of the characters, a lot of her power is locked behind Constellations. So the major breakpoint is explosive frags. Her Constellation 2 reduces defense by 23%. I mentioned this in the footage. There's very few characters that are going to reduce defense. There's in fact 3 counting her, and those are Lisa, who on her talent can reduce it by 15%, and then Razor, who is also locked behind a Constellation, on Constellation 4 can lower it by 15%. So they're both less of a defense reduction than Klee. Klee's 23%. So that's big. And then like Sparkly Explosion, this does an absolute boatload of damage. It's 555% of her attack as AoE damage if you switch her out while her ult is active. In any other situation than having Constellation 4, switching her out while her ult's active is a huge drop in terms of damage. You should never do that. But when you do have this, then switching her out at the last second that her ult is out is actually is a huge gain. It's very optimal. It hit for 81,000 damage. By the way, context on that. Someone might be like, I've seen blah person hit with blah character for over 100,000 damage, 81,000 damage. It's not that much, but blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. That wasn't with like a giant list of other like stacking bonuses on top. I wasn't running on the crit damage floor. Granted, it was like 75% extra pyro damage, but it wasn't the floor to specifically boost crit damage. And it wasn't Mona using her ultimate to set it up. And I wasn't using food and pots and yada, 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 yada. It wasn't all these things stacked up to do damage. That was actually a very legitimate like use case. That was 81,000 damage in like a legitimately hard fight. Against a level 100 Fatui, by the way, a level 80 character critting a level 100 character for 81,000 damage. So this is a legit Constellation. This thing is nice. But yeah, a lot of power locked behind here. And then as always, 3 and 5 are a big deal. Like, a lot of people don't get excited about these because they just increase talent level. But they increase it by 3, which increases damage by about 20% on those skills. Like Jumpty Dumpty and Sparks and Splash are level 9 instead of 6. And when I fully like max out Klee's talents, they'll be 15 instead of 12. So those are big, but that's for everybody. Like, pretty much all the characters get a lot better Constellation levels. And if that bothers you, then it's going to bother you with Klee just like it will bother you probably with all the characters. A Constellation people don't talk about that much is chain reactions. Attacks and skills have a certain chance to summon a certain chance. Tell us what the chance is. They have a certain chance to summon, I think it's 20%. Someone let me know if you know the actual percentage. But they have a chance to summon a spark that bombards the enemy, dealing damage equal to 120% of Sparks and Splashes damage, which does actually lead me to believe that scales with the talent level of Sparks and Splash. And that's a considerable amount of extra damage, because you'll just be throwing bombs and attacking, then the spark will come flying out and shoot the thing for a bunch of damage. So her Constellation 1 is quite solid. But yeah, if you're thinking about getting Klee anything beyond Constellation 0, then I think 2 is the major break point. And if you can really splurge and go for 4, then 4 is a big deal. I don't think 6 is a huge deal for anybody. It regenerates energy for a party while her ult is active, but it's not a ton. I think from 0%, it gets to like 20% of his elemental burst ready. Granted, it is to everybody, but also requires her to stay on the field, which, you know, is a little bit anti-synergistic with Sparkly Explosion. Ideally, you could just keep her on the field as long as possible, in the last possible second, switch her out to trigger the Sparkly Explosion, but that's a lot to play around. I think the more significant one of this is all party members, when you use Sparks and Splash, all party members gain 10% extra pyro damage bonus for 25 seconds. 25 seconds is an exceedingly long amount of time. That essentially means you can keep it up indefinitely if played correctly. So that's a nice thing to consider. However, I don't think that necessarily on its own is worth getting her to Constellation 6. So you want to stop at 4, that's legit. The trap of Constellation 4 is Constellation 5 is one short hop away, and this is, again, the thing that increases her ult damage. So, yeah, a lot of power locked behind Constellations, but that's most of the characters in the game. Also, by the way, some people, not gonna name names, don't read skills. Remember that she's got this pounding surprise talent. When Jumpty Dumpty and normal attacks deal damage, Klee has a 50% chance to obtain an Explosive Spark. This Explosive Spark is consumed by a next charge attack, which costs no stamina and deals 50% increased damage. You want to keep this in mind, because you need to juice her charge attack by triggering this with Jumpty Dumpty or normal attacks, because it will make her charge attack hit a lot harder. A lot harder. Her charge attack hits exceedingly hard with this. So remember to play around that. Also remember this one. When a charge attack crits, all party members gain 2 energy. That's nice. Remember that, like, if you got someone else on your team that's almost charged up, you can just charge attack for and charge them up. So read your skills. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Anyways, we have been talking about Klee for quite a bit. So conclusions. So we're done the abyss. We cleared 12-3, the hardest floor, hardest fight in the game. We beat the game. We're done. Now what? There's still plenty to do. I still want to farm perfect artifacts on everybody. So I'll probably be adventure rank 45 either by Saturday or Sunday. So that's when we'll really kick up the artifact farming. And in addition to that, obviously, here's a better view of it. I've got no, that's not the right panel. This one. I've got a ton of characters to level still. I've got a weapons level. There's characters I want to play around with. I just don't really want to start working on any characters that aren't outside of the team I'm running, the main team I'm running, until I get everyone to their max level. So to uncap people, to ascend them any of these characters the final time and take them to 90, that's actually adventure rank 50, not 45. So when I hit 45, the cap is still 80, so I'm actually catching up on these characters. So as you can see, I've got six characters at 80, and then I just need to get Jean and Mona to 80, and then that's my main team at 80. And at that point, I can branch out a little bit and start exploring with some characters. I have mentioned in the past I want to get Ningguang to max level and just try her out, because I hear she's actually quite powerful at Constellation 6, but I want to actually try that for myself. So that's going to be what I'll be working on besides artifacts, just getting everyone leveled up and talented up, and obviously talents. Getting everyone's talents up is on a tremendous amount of resin. It's so much resin to get everyone's talents up. And then leveling weapons. So there's still plenty of stuff to do. It's just, yeah, now we've done the hardest fight, so no need to really stress about Abyss anymore for now. I'll also obviously clear it, all of it, on reset, though, because you get a ton of rewards from clearing Abyss as well. Anyway, that's been it for this video. If you enjoyed the Abyss clear or seeing C6, Constellation 6 Klee in action, let me know down below. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube stuff, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!